advantage of the county. Based on the other bids, it's a strong likelihood that if we bid it out again next year, we're going to be paying a lot more than $102,000. That was the feeling of the IT committee, and
Okay.
better to lock in at $102,000 based on the RFP for the 3 years.
Okay. I think with the option of the 3-year bid in the contract, we're going to make sure that that is subject to delegation approval. Otherwise, we can't commit the delegation for a second or a third-year contract. Even the union contracts that go for 2 years, it's subject to the delegation approval of the funding. So that would have to be added to the contract if it isn't in there already.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman?
Point of order, go ahead.
In my experience on the delegation, I don't ever remember anybody coming back to second or third year of a contract
That's
for
right.
approval. We approved it for 3 years or 2 years or whatever the extent is. I thought you told the lieutenant just the opposite a second ago.
No, you didn't. You have to, what he told, I think he said is the delegation is going to have to approve it at the beginning for the 3
For the
year-
entire-
three- Yeah,
Yeah.
not come back every year.
Yep, yep. Yep. Our county attorney walked in the door. We're talking about the bids for the IT. Do you have any comments, not knowing what Lieutenant Santuccio said, but you were on the committee? Were you satisfied with the way the bidding or the selection of that company to satisfy the bidding specifications? Do you have any comments on that?
Not knowing what Lieutenant Santuccio said, I think the process went piecemeal, I guess. The committee got the information, tried to process what it had received. They seemed to make a decision based upon all the bids that were submitted.
Mhm.
I think we discussed, whether a 1 or 3 year contract could be implemented due to the delegation process, and I think I just caught the tail end of that.
Yeah.
And as far as how the contract will be implemented by the commissioners, that information wasn't available during the budget process, so I'm not really sure, and I expressed, at least from my department, my concern, which I relayed last year, as to how, it will be piecemeal to the respective departments based
Right.
upon need.
Right.
And so-
Yep. That wasn't part of the bidding, but,
Those were my comments.
okay. And you supported the recommendation of the committee?
It seemed to be, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Okay. Thank the committee for looking into those bids. With that said, with the recommendation, our contract ran out the 1st of April, and I think we need to take action on it now. I would move that we accept the recommendation of the IT committee and move forward on it, and we would review the contract to make sure that that item of subject to the approval of the delegation be included in that contract. Anybody second it?
I would like to second that. However, my problem here is that we have given a platform to one company to state their case, and it's only been to us and not to the IT committee. And I was wondering if the IT committee has any, having heard that, has any thoughts about changing their suggestion.
Anybody from the IT committee want to answer that question? After what was presented earlier, whether the committee wants to reconsider?
Just hearing the mumblings back here, I think I can speak for myself that I would stick with our original recommendation. I believe that that's the feeling of the IT committee as well.
You concur too? Okay.
In
Does that answer your question?
Yes, I think so. In that case, I would go along with the second.
You will go along. You
Yes.
mean you
I
would
will
second the
second,
motion?
yes.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yes, I oppose. I oppose because the fox is in the hen house. I think the whole bidding process went wrong. We have Mr. Scheibertron on the IT committee. He is the only company that walks here around, know about the requirements, know about the servers. No other company could come in and make an assessment what we have. How are they going to write an appropriate bid? They don't have the appropriate information. If you look at the RFP, it was written by Cybertron for Cybertron. It was written so that companies can bring in a competitive bid. I think it is wrong. I think it is also a conflict of interest, sitting on the IT company, writing the RFP, and then put in a bid for the contract. It's totally despicable.
I guess my comment to that is that last meeting, we had another company here, sitting over here, that hand-carried their bid, even though we got it through email. I asked them point blank when I held up the criteria that was reviewed by the IT committee and asked them if they had enough information to put in a bid, and they said yes. So that kind of contradicts what you were saying.
They going to send another email. They called me afterwards and say they put it in. They didn't have the appropriate information, but they still put in a bid. They never came in a brother engineer, didn't see anything. They never had a chance to give a presentation. Cybertron gave a presentation to the delegation and to the commissioners. So I think it is wrong. The whole process went wrong.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion?
I recognize that, our contract is up, and the pressure is on because of that. But I don't know, I'm torn. I just wonder if we put this off for a week, allow all of the companies to come in, speak before the IT committee, and then have them discuss again, and we'll do that immediately.
Oh, we do it after they submit the bid and
Yeah.
we open the bids? They can come now and see the server and give a presentation?
Actually, I wasn't considering seeing the server so much. I don't know why they could not come in to see the server. That there was never any obstacles, to my knowledge, to have them come in to see the server, if that was what they wanted to do, or to see any part of the process that we have in action here. I don't know that there was anything to stop them.
You know,
doing
that is not true. I asked
I
Commissioner
didn't say whether it
Sorensen,
was
I
true or not,
asked him
just that
and
I
I
didn't
said,
know.
I have companies can come in Monday and Tuesday. He said, no, let it just look at the RFP and write their proposal.
May I ask the gentleman from Mainstay whether he wanted to come in and was denied our view?
I wasn't denied. We just didn't have the time. I think
Okay.
when we ended up getting the call about the RFP after Commissioner Kenny had requested from the town of Ospey for suggested vendors, we just didn't have. I don't know. It was like just a matter of a couple days that we had basically from the time we found out about the RFP to when it had to be delivered here. So it wasn't that we were denied, no one said, no, you can't come in. It was just, we just didn't have the time to do it. We wanted to make sure. So in terms of your suggestion, I think that would be excellent. If we were able to have a time to come in, assess the network, do a network audit, be able to talk to the IT committee, get a sense of some of their goals, and be able to dialogue with them in preparation for a final decision to be made, I think that would be very much welcomed.
The only reason I bring this up this way is because it's become a very toxic issue here. And in order to alleviate any problems that may arise from the possibility of people thinking that there's something had gone amiss here. I think it would be in the county's best interest to put this to rest once and for all, and do this, this opening for everyone at this point in time.
So your suggestion is that we have each of those 4 or 5
Or
companies come in?
However many would like to come in, yes.
And how's that going to change the bidding?
I don't,
Because they all have put in their bidding information as far as,
I don't think the bids, we will not accept any change in bids. However, I would like to put to rest Commissioner Kenny's suggestion that something was done irregularly here.
Mhm.
And so we get this straightened out for the benefit of everyone in the county.
Okay. Yes, as a member of the committee, I'd recognize you. Go ahead.
Commissioner, you did ask about the bidding process, and that was discussed in the committee, and the issue that we raised is what was the process of the bidding and at what time. I think the points that both commissioners had made were asked about because the committee only reflected on what was submitted.
Right.
And the process and what they're allowed to do and the timing of that, I think, is critical to the accuracy of the bid and what is being asked in the RFP. So those are all concerns as to whether or not you've got the proper bid on what is expected and for what services you expect. So if timing or things of that nature, that should have been in the bid, and we did talk about that. And apparently, as it was relayed to us, some of the bids came in before and some of them later. Some of them couldn't be submitted apparently because of the timing. So all of those issues were raised, and I think that would all be best addressed in a uniform bidding process, and that when that goes out for specification, that's reviewed before it goes out to bid. That way, everyone can have a fair chance and can look at these issues that Commissioner Solomon has said, Commissioner Kenny has said, and I think that would avoid this hostile situation.
Okay. Would the IT committee want to review or talk with the companies that come in? And you had your...
No, I had a comment about something else.
Okay. I mean, this went out for bid, and we got one bid in, came from Cybertron, and we had 2 calls come in regarding that first time that it was bidded. And they decided apparently not to submit a bid because we didn't get one. So then there was a problem that Commissioner Kenny felt that we weren't giving them enough time and thought that she could get more bids to come in. So we put the bid out again, and we waited another 2 weeks to get bids in, and then we ended up getting 4 or 5 bids in. It's interesting that, a month ago, I was criticized for calling local companies to put bids in. And now here we are. Commissioner Kenny was allowed or decided that she could call different companies locally to get bids in, and nobody has criticized her for doing that. I find that kind of interesting.
Point of order.
Point of order, okay.
I personally, when the bid went out a second time,
Yeah.
called 4 chambers of commerce and 9 individual companies.
Okay.
So let's not blame everything on Commissioner Kenny once again. I personally took that upon myself
Yeah.
because this bidding
Okay.
policy is flawed.
Point of order was taken. Commissioner Kenny, you said you were going to call.
Yeah, I called the town.
You did?
of
Okay.
Ossipee.
All right.
Why can a taxpayer not call? If people want to call
I didn't
around,
say,
they can call.
I didn't say he.
I make some phone
Right.
calls
You-
too, because I wanted competitive bidding.
Okay. I'm just making that point that I was criticized for it, but When
Well,
you did
I
it, it was
don't know what
okay.
you're talking
You
about,
better-
because you're playing games.
Okay,
Because
I'm
you
not playing
told me,
games.
and it is in the minutes, that I should take it upon and make the phone calls and put the ad back in the paper. So it was back in the paper.
Okay.
So you need to
Okay.
stop playing all these little games.
Lieutenant Santuccio?
I'm just gonna speak on behalf of the sheriff's office.
Yep.
And I don't know if the rest of the IT committee agrees, we're presently in day 3 of without a contract, and if our system goes down, it's gonna cost a lot of money to have someone come in, whether it be Mainstay or Cybertron, whatever. And we obviously dispatch for a lot of communities, emergency police and stuff, and there's a big concern of that, going, and the other thing is if you are thinking of rebidding, I would throw that out, because the numbers have already been,
No.
thrown out there, and everyone knows what the prices are.
Right.
No, that was
A
not-
big part of what we made our decision on was the price of the contracts as submitted.
My thought,
Yeah.
my statement was, we would not rebid.
Right, no, I know what you said, I'm just
Okay.
wanting to make sure that, and recently, I think there was a decision made by Judge Horan and the Conway School Board that, because Commissioner Kenny and I respect everything you've said, and you bring up some good points, but you can't act as a citizen. If you're a sitting commissioner, you're always a commissioner. You can't step outside the box and say, I'm a citizen doing this. The school board, I was brought up at the school board, and Judge Horan said, no, if you're a sitting school board member, you're a sitting school board member. You can't act as a citizen and a school board member. You're recognized as a school board member. So I would assume the same applies to the 3 of you and any of the delegation that's present. So.
Thank you.
I just want to make a comment. I thought that the sheriff's department was going month by month, that they had a contract and they were paying month by month basis.
We were up till
Yeah.
the end of March. Then we decided to go on with the bidding process and join in with the rest of the county on this global contract.
And-
Just a point of
and-
order on this.
And you're on the committee, go ahead.
Yes. I just want to say that when we met, we discussed what had been met by the criteria for bidding process. It seemed to me, and I may not have the date correct, but that was put in 7 newspapers from the very beginning, and they spread from Portland down into all over the state. And I felt that that had given people adequate time and notice. I would never have bid on a job that I hadn't seen what I was going to be bidding on. I think people from the first advertisement would have had appropriate time to come, make an appointment, and say, I'd like to see what it is I'm bidding on. I took that all into consideration when we were making our decision and going over, and we did, I know myself, looked at this in terms of 1-year and 3-year contracts, made a chart, and you certainly go with the person who understood what he was bidding on, and his bids were lower than the others. So I had no problem in casting that vote.
Okay.
Just a clarification.
Go ahead.
Was it Commissioner Solomon's position that interviews should take place to illustrate service changes? Because obviously the prices are set. The bid amounts submitted are set. So the only alteration would be service provided or differences in the quality or veracity of the service, I guess?
Yes, yes, it is.
Thanks.
I just want to make a comment on N8. The bid was out for 1 day, and I believe it was in 4 papers. That is what I got. So if it was 7, I'm not aware of that.
I'm talking about the initial bid, not when it went back out and people tried to get people to bid, but the initial bidding for the job that came under criticism later. I'm talking about originally it was given a
I think it was
widespread
4.
circulation.
4 newspapers for 1 day.
Okay.
I think I wrote them down, so I'll look in my notes.
Okay, any further comments?
No, what do you want to do?
We're going to call for the vote. I made the motion, you seconded it. You don't want, if you want to have companies come in to look at our system, then you'd vote no. If you want to accept the bid as the recommendation of the IT committee, then you'd vote yes.
I can't make this an amendment to the bid?
Go
I
ahead.
don't understand, what are you talking about? Companies to come look in now at what we have? They already submitted the bid. Why are they coming in now? For what?
Well, then what, then I don't understand.
The companies
I
should be
understand what
coming
you said.
in before they put in their bid or proposal. The company should have given a chance to make a presentation and to make a thorough assessment what we have, and then write a bid.
Okay,
Now everything is done. It went to the IT committee. They submitted their bid. How do you want now to invite the companies to look at what?
well, if that's your position, and you're not going to move from it, then I will,
Well, then we have to start the whole bidding process over.
No.
If you want to invite companies, then they have to come look at everything, give a presentation, and then submit the bid. You cannot let them submit a bid that everyone sees and talk about it, and suddenly now they can come in.
You're right. I think you're right.
I'm sorry that you misunderstood what I was trying to do, and in that case, I'll vote yes.
All right, call
Can you
for
just
the,
tell me what your motion is?
the motion is to accept the recommendation from the IT committee. And their recommendation was to hire Cybertron at $102,000 a year and for a 3-year contract, subject to the funding of the delegation.
Why is it a 3-year contract? Is there going to be clause in that it is 30 days termination? Or what about pool failure, or if there are ethical issues going on? The sheriff's department is new, I believe, and the police department. How many, Mr. Scheiber, how many sheriff's department or police department did you serve? Did you do?
Through the years, we've serviced at least 10.
10? Okay, and is it in the state here? Can you tell me which counties?
We serviced Belknap County for over a dozen years. We have done work for Moultonborough. We have done work for Barnstead. We have done work for Tilton.
So all the sheriffs and police departments, that is what you
Those are
did
sheriff's
there.
and police department.
And
We've done other
are you
municipalities.
still doing Belknap County?
No, we are not.
And why are you not the Belknap County?
They chose somebody different.
Who did they choose then?
Mainstay.
Mainstay. Okay. Again, the motion is to accept the recommendation from the IT committee to hire Cybertron on a 3-year contract based on 101 or 102,000? 102,000. And it's been seconded, and call for the vote. All those in support of the motion say aye. Aye.
Given that my recommendation did not go further, I say aye.
Okay. Any abstentions?
I oppose. I
You
think it
oppose.
is wrong. And why is it a 3-year contract? Why does a county have to be stuck with a 3-year contract?
I think the 3-year, well,
It should be 1 year, and there should be a clause in that both parties can have a termination for 30 days. I think 3 years is wrong. What if you have in the future a change of board? What do you have? Then you let those board members be stuck with a contract and with Cybertron. I don't think it's fair. It is the IT, it should be going with 1 year.
okay, there's a motion on the floor. All those in support of the motion, say aye again. Aye.
Aye.
I oppose.
Okay. Voting was 2-1, motion carries. You have a question?
Just for the record, we initially were doing 1-year bids, and it was the delegation who requested it go to a 3-year
That's
contract.
correct.
That is not true. Representative Smith said some contracts can be 3 years. And I called him up and I said, why did you make a comment like that? Because now they're putting the IT. And he said it was not for the IT. He would not recommend a 3-year contract for the IT. So it's not that the delegation recommended that. That's not true.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is Sandy.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
This morning, our census is 101. We have 2 private pay residents, 1 Medicare resident, 6 Medicaid pending residents, 74 Medicaid residents.
Excuse me, you said 2
20,
private pay, it says 20.
Oh, I'm sorry, 20 private pay residents. We have, we had 1 recent death, and we have, it says on here 2 medical leave of absences, but we have 3 residents presently at the hospital. Our Medicaid cost report was submitted last Friday. We will now be working on our Medicare cost report. As far as our certificate of need annual report, it is in progress. I did meet with Kathy Gary last week. She's looking into some of the numbers, and then we will be submitting our annual report. That will not be a final report, and I spoke to the Health Planning and Review Board, and the reason for that is that we have to ensure that all of our charges and costs are in that report, and landscaping is the one that we're working on currently. Last week we had an emergency preparedness tabletop drill. Our revisions to our plan have been made and updated, and the plan will be submitted to Chief Riley, and hopefully by week's end. Yesterday we had a memorial service. That's a memorial service for residents that passed away over the past quarter, and this was an event that was planned by the residents and staff, and it was quite moving.
I heard that it was well done.
And it was, yeah, it was well done, and I applaud the residents and staff for not only their devotion to the residents, but the sense and the feel of the program itself. It was done with a lot of heart and emotion. The residents have also are planning an Easter egg hunt on Saturday, April 7th at 2 p.m., and they're going to be selling baked goods. We do have an Easter buffet that will be held on Sunday from 10:45 to 12:30, and there are a charge for those that are non-residents. I believe it's $10 a meal. And then of interest, I received communication on Monday, and it was a letter from Omnicare. And as you're aware that we have a contract with Omnicare, and we had increased our rate for our consultant for this budgetary period. In this letter, the attached document from Omnicare further increased our pharmacy consulting contract, and this was through the corporate office. The document was dated March 12th. It was mailed to the nursing home on the 30th, and it was effective April 1st. I contacted the general manager for New Hampshire outlining the addendum that was just signed, and it said that we could, foregoing fees shall be subject to an annual adjustment. Well, if we have just signed the contract, there is no annual adjustment at this time. And certainly cannot review. Mr. Fortier, who is the general manager, has put in a call to the corporate office, and he said to just wait on everything that we have received, because I think it's a violation of our contract if this does happen.
But our contract stands.
Our contract stands, and
Okay.
so now he's working with the corporate office, but I felt as though it was a communication that I had not expected, and I felt as though you should be apprised of that. And then last meeting, there was one issue that was brought up having to do with our fire alarm system, so I asked Bob to come along and speak to that.
Well, thank you. We are in a new building, and as we all know, that there are always bugs to work out. And we've been doing that through fire drills, through a couple of accidental false alarms and whatnot, which we think we have pretty much done away with. We have had a couple of false alarms, and I know that those bring concern to our professional firefighter staff, community members, certainly the residents. Multitude of issues. We had smoke detector sensitivity that was not proper. We had a couple of accidental pulls from we have cognitively impaired residents that can reach the fire alarms